What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of GearHead Garage. Today we are going to be doing a vehicle tour, going through the mod list and a little drive in my 2006 Toyota Tacoma X-Runner. So I bought this car July 2021. I got it from the original owner. It was bone stock, needed a few things. I had run into the guy previously in my other truck. I'd seen him in the area and talked to him back then. And it just turns out I was in the right place at the right time. I got in touch with the guy when he was looking to sell the truck. And I was able to get it for a great price. I didn't plan on keeping it. I was going to just fix a few little things and then sell it. And just as fate has it, right after I bought it, the Subaru WRX I had at the time, I ended up blowing up the transmission in it. So I ended up getting rid of that and keeping the X-Runner, and it's been my daily driver ever since, and it's been a great truck. So I'm going to give you guys kind of a little brief walk around, go over the mods and some of the things I've done to it, and then we'll go for a little drive. So starting out, a lot of people don't really know what these trucks are. So the X-Runner was a sport trim of the Toyota Tacoma that was offered from 2005 to 2015. Now the 14s and 15s were only sold, I believe, in Canada and Hawaii, so those are super rare. So this one's a 2006, and the X-Runner trims, they came with the ground effects package, as you see on the front and the side and the back and everything. That is standard. They all came in this same configuration, all access cabs, all powered by the 1GR V6. They produce about factory rated at 245 horsepower and 282 pound-feet of torque. But the X-Runners all came with that motor, and they only came with a 6-speed manual. None of them came automatic, and they all came in the same cab and bed configuration, access cab with the quote-unquote long bed. And they all came factory lower 2 inches with Bilstein suspension, and they had an X-brace in the back. Now a lot of people think that these things came supercharged, but that's not the case. So for a while, Toyota was offering a TRD branded Magnuson supercharger that you could get from the factory and have them install it. It got discontinued a few years ago, so you can no longer get that TRD branded supercharger from Toyota. You can still get it directly from Magnuson, but it doesn't have the TRD badging on it. So that's kind of the quick rundown of what an X-Runner is. And I really think they're the best sport truck. There's been a lot of sport trucks like around this era with the Ford Lightning and like the Dodge Viper trucks, and ones before that with the GMCs and all that stuff. But as far as like a more modern truck that's very practical, still runs great to this day, you don't see many of them. They're really fun to drive. The handling on these from the factory is actually really good, very underrated. And the best part about it is it's still a Tacoma, so it's going to go over 200,000 miles if you take care of it. Whereas the Lightnings and the Viper trucks, no way they're getting over 200,000 miles. Maybe in a few, very few cases, but in general, you don't see those things with very high mileage. So let me go over some of the things I've done in the past few years on this thing. Done some cosmetic, done some performance stuff, done some brakes and suspension, kind of a little bit of everything. So we'll start kind of from the front to the back. So on the front, a couple things that I've done. I apologize for the noise of landscaping in the background. It's kind of unavoidable at this time of year. So with the lighting, these are a Depot brand black housing OEM style headlight. This eyelid is just like a color matched vinyl that a buddy of mine, Rob, makes, C2C Customs. Fog lights are just an OEM style with the yellow laminix. And there's also a black textured plastic piece that goes over here from the factory that I removed, so it's just paint matched. And then painted the grill badge. Going around back, continuing with the lighting, I've upgraded the lights in the back as well. These are a 2009 plus OEM style LED taillight with the black housing. So pretty much the same style as what would come on the 2009 to 15 Tacomas, but with the black housing. And then it does have some LED tag lights as well. It does have a Truxedo Low Pro tonneau cover. It's a roll up unit. I really like it because I can roll it all the way up. I have bike mounts all the way at the front there. So when I'm using this to transport bikes or customers' bikes, I can mount them right up there. I can roll the tonneau cover up, it's out of the way. Another mod inside the bed here are these LED lights from MacGecko LED. Really nice little kit, basic, easy install, and it really comes in handy when loading stuff up in here at night. It really makes it nice. Continuing with suspension. So this has a SOS lowering kit on it, which is basically a 1.5 inch drop in the front, 2 inch drop in the rear. The rear uses blocks, and I do have a set of QA1 adjustable shocks in the rear, so I can dial them up when I'm carrying a heavier load and stuff like that, so it doesn't bottom out. And then the front uses a drop spring perch. So basically I got brand new OEM Bilsteins from the factory, and I removed this factory spring perch, replaced it with the SOS spring perch, and that's how you get your drop up front. Wheels and tires, these are actually off of my other X-Runner. When I upgraded those like a year or so ago, I swapped these on here because they had good tires on them. So the wheels are a Enkei Kojin 18 8.5 plus 35. Tires are a General G-Max RS in the stock size 255/45 18s. The brakes, if you saw last week's video, I just upgraded them to a custom kit using Strictly Street brackets to utilize a Tundra 4-piston brake caliper and Lexus ISF rotor, which is a 360 millimeter rotor. So that's what I got going on for brakes. Other small things on the outside, little stubby antenna here, the rain visors, and I had the front windows tinted to match the factory rear tints. As far as the rest of the outside, pretty much all stock. I just try to keep it really clean, as you can see. It does have some imperfections, none of which are probably really going to show up on the camera here, but it does have dings and dents and stuff like that, so it's not perfect, but it is in really good condition for its age. So we'll go on the inside real quick and show you what I got going on in there. Nothing too crazy in here, just pretty clean. So it does have the original sports seats, original carpets. I did black out some of the interior to get rid of some of the factory silver. So I blacked out the silver on the tweeter rings, on the window switch panels, and I did rewrap the armrest pads, which were gray, to a black kind of like micro suede. WeatherTech floor mats, I continued the blackout treatment. Some of the dash bits in here. Did this guy in black for the cup holders, and also did around the vents. It's got just like a cheap Pioneer singled in head unit with Bluetooth. Blacked out this panel for the HVAC controls, and paint matched the rings around the gauges in the factory radiant red color. The steering wheel was replaced. This one was a OEM style one that I got off of eBay. I found a couple years ago for like a really good price. Leather wrapped with the piano black on top, and it's like an OEM style wheel, so you just swap out your factory airbag and you're good to go. So it keeps steering wheel controls and all that. You can swap over to this wheel. I really like this wheel. I think it was a good buy. And then other interior stuff, just like LED lighting everywhere. And the shifter is a B&M short shifter. When I got it, that was one of the things that was pretty bad on it. The factory shifter has like a bushing about halfway down that kind of isolates it. And over time, they just kind of wear out. So the stock shifter had all kinds of play in it. So this is a B&M short shifter. I like it all right. You know, one thing I don't really like about it is that it does move the shifter back pretty far. If you can see, it kind of looks like it's in the lower gears already, but that's actually neutral. So when you bring it back, it comes back pretty far. So if you have a can or something in there, it could possibly hit it. That's one of the drawbacks to it. Other upgrades inside, I do have a Taco Tunes speaker kit in it. Comes with the door speakers as well as tweeters and crossovers, and I also kill matted the doors and the rear wall. Some good sound deadening in there. The rear speakers are still factory. I do want to replace those eventually, but I do have a sub box back here. This was out of one of my old trucks I just threw in here, so nothing real fancy there. And that's pretty much inside. I'll show you what's going on under the hood here. All right, so I got the AFE power intake with the snorkel kit, and that's like an optional add-on for these intakes. I was able to get this from my buddy Noah. He had it in his truck very briefly, and he switched his setup, so he gave me a killer deal on this. Other stuff under the hood here, not much, just really kind of cleaned up a lot of the factory stuff. I've replaced a lot of like the OEM hoses and stuff like that were starting to dry rot. Replaced the plugs. It does have a URD MAF translator. I did recently paint the valve covers in a wrinkle red finish, and you can kind of see part of my exhaust down there. Those are Doug Thorley long tube headers. From the Doug Thorley long tube headers, it goes into Doug Thorley resonated wide pipe, and from there it goes to a URD 3-inch catback exhaust. Other performance stuff, basically a URD fuel pump upgrade kit, which is a Walbro 255 with an external replaceable filter. So that's kind of nice for peace of mind. Other performance stuff, I mean, that's really it. It's a really basic truck, but it runs good. So I think now we'll go ahead and start it up so you can kind of hear the exhaust tone a little bit. I do have this little ultra gauge down here, which is a nice little add-on. I do have the what's called the fog light mod, which is you can basically have the fog lights on independent of where the headlights are on, so you can have them on without the lights altogether. Like I do now, and also once you switch to high beams, the fog lights will still work as well, so that's kind of nice. So this thing does have a nice little rumble to it, nothing too crazy, but it does sound good. Little raspy, but not too bad. With the resonated Doug Thorley wide pipe, I think it kind of calms it down just enough. So at this point, I'm going to try to rig up my camera in the interior so we can get a decent view, and we'll go for a little ride. All right. Take the old truck out for a little cruise here. Now this has been like a really good truck. I have done a lot of work as far as like preventative maintenance and replacing things I know are going to be wear items, but overall it hasn't really wanted for much. Never had any issues of it actually breaking down or anything. I've driven this thing not a crazy crazy amount of miles since I had it for 3 years, but I have taken it on some long trips. I've taken it all the way up to Vermont. I've had it like out in the mountains of PA a couple times. It's had some long trips, and it's always done really well. And actually, last time I was in Vermont, I actually went on some dirt roads with it, because that's just kind of a thing you have to do when you're out in Vermont in the middle of nowhere. And it did fine. I didn't go too fast or anything, but it did its thing. So it's been a really good truck to me, and I'm kind of at the point where I'm in the never sell club. I know a few people over the years that have sold these trucks, and they always wanted them back. This is my third one. I had one that I got rid of, and I wish I didn't. So I'm definitely in the realm of never sell it. And my kind of goal with this thing is to kind of reverse age it. I've had a lot of people I know over the years that have seen the truck, and they're like, man, every time I see the truck, it looks better than it did before somehow. And that's kind of my goal with it. I'm very OCD about keeping everything super clean, and if I can improve something, I will. And I'm always trying to, just make it better and better as I can. And this thing has a lot of miles on it. We'll get to that in a bit. But you would never be able to tell if you never looked at the odometer. It doesn't leak anything. It doesn't burn oil. It's just a very happy motor, and I rip on it every now and then, but I'm pretty kind to it. But it's just a great motor, and if this motor happened to blow up tomorrow, I wouldn't be mad at it, and I would probably get a used junkyard 1GR and put it in and keep going. So one thing that the previous owner did have done, and the real Achilles heel of these trucks, is the frame. Especially being in the Rust Belt here, these things like to rust, especially if you don't oil undercoat them regularly. That's the real preventative thing that you can do for these, is oil undercoating, not a rubberized undercoat, and oil undercoating. Do that once a year, and you're pretty good to go. But the previous owner did have the frame replaced under warranty, which was huge. So when I got it, the frame was in really good shape. So I've just been doing some fluid film applications on it once a year, and hopefully to keep this thing in one piece and keep it from rusting. The old girl still moves pretty good. As far as the clutch and flywheel, they are I think an OEM replacement. The previous owner did have the clutch replaced before I got it, probably like the year before I bought it. He had the clutch replaced. It wasn't an OEM clutch from Toyota, so it was like an aftermarket equivalent. But as you can see, it holds good. So until that becomes an issue, I'm not going to do anything about it. I have replaced the transmission fluid with Redline MT90, which is a good upgrade for these 6-speed units. Kind of keeps the grinding down. And the other thing that I've done with it, another Achilles heel of these 6-speed transmissions, is the throwout bearings, like the chirp on them. And it's not the actual bearing, and what it is the quill of the transmission that the bearing rides on is made of aluminum, and over time that aluminum kind of wears and gets grooves in it, so the bearing won't sit and ride on there smoothly. So what will happen is the bearing will kind of rattle around on the snout, and that's the sound that you're hearing. So a lot of people, when they hear that throwout bearing chirp, they assume that they need a new bearing. Then they put a new one in, and like a month down the line, it's making noise again. So it's that quill that's the issue. So my buddy Gadget over at URD years ago, he had found a fix for that. So he sells a kit with a billet sleeve that fits over the factory quill, and then he has an oversized bearing that fits on that, and that fixes the issue. So I've done that upgrade in both trucks, and it's been quiet ever since. But almost every other X-Runner I've been in that doesn't have that fix or have the other thing that you can do, which is like a hydro bearing. If you don't have one of those and you have a factory like throwout bearing setup, they pretty much all make noise. So if yours is making noise, that's a great upgrade. It's about $250 for the oversized bearing and the quill adapter, and that's a really good upgrade if yours is making noise. Stop throwing new throwout bearings in and expecting it to stop, because it's not going to. But overall, this truck runs great. It drives great. Like I said, I've taken it on lots of really long drives, 8+ hours driving, and it's good as can be. If I'm real careful with it, I can get over 21 miles to the gallon with it, which I'm not mad at. I know it's not an economy car, and that's fine with me. The exhaust is a little on the loud and drony side on the interior, but honestly, I don't mind it. I kind of like the to hear the exhaust a little bit, and it doesn't really get on my nerves even in longer drives. Usually I'll have my music playing pretty loud, so I don't even really notice it. But I'm overall very happy with this thing. As far as future upgrades, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I always think about wanting to lower it a little bit more, but then I remember that it's my daily, so it's probably not a good idea. My other one has a 3-inch drop on it, and while it looks awesome, it's not super practical for daily driving. It kind of scrapes on speed bumps and stuff like that, so probably not the best idea. And even with this being a higher mileage truck, I wouldn't have any hesitation to throw a TRD supercharger or Magnuson supercharger kit on it if I found one for a good deal. Because I've seen trucks with higher mileage have superchargers on them, and they're perfectly fine. As long as your truck's in good shape before, there will be no issue with it. So we'll show you the actual mileage of this thing. And there it is, 245,024 miles. And like I said, you would never know it by looking at it or by driving it, because this thing is pretty much perfect. There's really no squeaks or rattles when you're driving it, and it presents very well. Like I said, I do keep it really, really clean, but I always have people stopping me and they're like, wow, that truck is awesome looking. I'm like, yep, you would never guess it has about 250,000 miles on it. And they're always super shocked when they hear how many miles are on it. So that's it with this truck. Maybe we'll get to the other truck one of these days, but what do you guys think? Should I have anything else you think I should do to this thing? We'll see. I got a few little things in mind, but might just have to figure that out on a future episode of GearHead Garage. Thanks for watching.